Hi everyone, and welcome to the Fake Love and Flying Monkeys podcast. My name's Nova Gibson and I am your host. My area of expertise is in supporting victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse and other toxic relationships. I'm the principal counsellor at Brighter Outlook Narcissistic Abuse Counselling Service, and I'm also the author of Fake Love, Understanding and Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about everything from the initial pink cloud you find yourself on at the start through to the horrific discard and the powerful trauma bond that keeps you hooked. So take your imaginary seat on the roller coaster that is narcissistic abuse, and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode of Fake Love and Flying Monkeys. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fake Love and Flying Monkeys. Now today's episode is about very cruel ways the narcissist seeks to destroy their victim. Most often this will happen post-separation, if you are in an intimate relationship with the narcissist, or I'm going to also be giving you some examples of some very cruel ways the narcissist will do this if they're outside of that intimate relationship. For example, a parent or a colleague, someone you work with. Now, these examples are ones that I hear regularly in my counselling practice, where I work exclusively to support and counsel victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse. And by the way, guys, if you'd like to have a one-on-one counseling session with me, please just see my website in the description. And no matter where you are in the world, all my sessions are online. I'd love to be able to help you. But a few of these come up regularly in my sessions, but they're ones that you don't hear about all the time when you're doing your research and you're watching your videos. Other words, you've had your light bulb moment and you're seeking validation like there's no tomorrow. Number one example of cruel behavior by the narcissist is when they have a new partner, they've discarded their victim, and they are gaslighting their own children. They are attempting to destroy the bond between their child and their other parent, whilst simultaneously trying to create an incredibly strong bond between the new target and their children. Now, the goal of this, obviously, is to completely sink the boot in to their previous primary source, the child's other parent, the victim parent, because they're engaging in all those behaviours to make sure they never have quality time with their children. They will be filling their heads of their children with absolute garbage about the victim parent, and they will be injecting themselves into the victim parent's home by calling their child on the phone all the time, just to create chaos and shift their child's mindset. But that all of that is going on. And whilst they are forging this strong bond with the new target, where the victim parent feels like they're being replaced, one incredibly cruel thing I hear regularly is that the narcissist will pull the children out of their school and put them in the school of their new target's children, or they will make their new target's children, under the guise of caring, of course, and wanting to be this amazing family where all the kids go to the same school, they'll pull the children out of their school and put them in the same school that the narcissist children go to. So let's really look at the cruelty that's behind these actions. You have been discarded in the most horrific way. You've been replaced immediately, not by a new soulmate, by their next victim. But this person thinks they've won the jackpot, they've won the lotto, and they've been told that you're the crazy, horrible, jealous ex. And they're forging an incredibly loving, in their mind, relationship with your children. So you go to pick up your children from school. The teachers are all looking at you funny. Maybe the other parents are looking at you funny. Why? Because the narcissist has engaged in their habitual smear campaign. You go to an event at the school and you watch all the parents now interacting with the narcissist and the new target, and you're on the outer. How much does that hurt you? Now, the smear campaign is to be expected, but having to see your abuser at school events with their new target, with the new person that they claim is their new soulmate and who's nowhere near as crazy as you are, that's what they've told you. Having to see them cuddling up together and their children and your children all playing happy families, to see your children jumping up in the arms or on the lap of the new target after everything they've done to you is excruciating. You can't even get away from your abuser when you go to your children's school. It is incredibly cruel and frustrating, and it is 100% intentional by the narcissist. They know school, just like meal times, is something that you are not going to be able to avoid if you want to be the good parent, and they know you will be, by attending all of the school events. So they will make sure they are there with the new target playing happy families in front of you. This is absolute cruelty. Number 2, cruel way the narcissist seeks to destroy you. The narcissist has discarded you. They want nothing to do with you. If they never see you again, it'll be too soon, or whatever horrible thing they said to you to destroy your self-worth, and just put the little cherry on top after the horrific discard. They've discarded you. They've got children of their own, and they made sure that you had an incredibly close and loving bond with their children for a number of reasons, one of which is so that they can break your heart into a million pieces by never allowing you to see those children again when they discard you. Of course, they don't take their children's connection with you into account. It's about punishing you. So they've discarded you. You clearly would be heartbroken, confused, not just about the discard, the lack of closure, etc., but also about losing the relationships with your stepchildren. So the narcissist sees you moving on, healing, you're not looking like you're in so much pain, so they contact you. Or if you block them, they dispatch a flying monkey. And the narcissist says to you, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, my children miss you. Look, surely we can be friends for their sake. It's not their fault. And one of them's sick at the moment and they're asking for you. So how about we just try and be friends for their sake so our kids can all see each other. So of course, for those of you who have been through this, you will know that it is so easy to go back and get sucked back into the cycle when you are able to see their children again, because Yes, of course you miss the children, but there's also normally, especially in those very, very early stages, there's still that trauma bond that is looking for any excuse to have the narcissist back in your life, not because you love them, but because it ends the pain of the withdrawal, because the trauma bond, the very powerful attachment to your abuser, is an addiction. But they bank on the fact that you will just jump at the chance of seeing their children again. So they suck you back in under the guise of doing something loving for their children. And of course, being a grown-up and being able to move past all that horrible stuff and be friends with you. Now, we all know now you cannot be friends with your abuser. And losing those relationships with their children, etc., is part of the loss you need to grieve, because you can't be friends and you can't have a connection with their children when they're young. And that connection involves a connection with your abuser. It's impossible, because they will use their own children to keep you in that vortex, and you use the excuse that you're doing something altruistic, but really your subconscious is screaming for an end to the pain of the withdrawal of this chaotic environment. But they suck you back in just so you can watch them in their next relationship, because remember, you're only friends now. There's no commitment from them, and or to triangulate you, pit you against their own children that you have sacrificed so much by lowering your boundaries and coming back into this toxic cycle just to see them. They know that when they try and turn their own children against you again, and of course all the pain of the chaos of having your friendship benefits in advice about other relationships, advice about their children and what they should do perhaps with their ex-parent, all of this stuff they will ask of you in under the premise of being friends. But really, it's about getting you to participate in the chaotic cycle again, where they can put another partner in your face and keep you there because their children love you. But really, it's about just making sure you never move on with your life. And they use their children to do that. Absolutely cruel, because it keeps that bond going. It strengthens the bond with their children who probably were missing you. And of course, there's no thought for the children when they rip you away again when you displease them. The children are just collateral damage, and your love of their children is used as a weapon against you. Number 3, cruel behavior from the narcissist involves your own narcissistic parent. If you're an ACON, an adult child of a narcissist, that's an acronym we use in narcissistic abuse recovery, then your narcissistic parent may have engaged in this behavior when you were trying to go no contact from them. Now, the narcissistic parent hates the fact that you actually have some kind of loving bond with the other parent who, by the time you're an adult, is an enabling parent. But they've got their own history of abuse, trauma bonding with that other parent. It's still absolutely no excuse. But the cruel behavior comes when the true narcissist has just exhausted every what possible way to get hold of you, to get through to you, to regain control of you, because you've blocked them, you've asked for space, a hiatus, so you can heal, and they're wanting to cash in on that fear, obligation, and guilt that you owe them as their child. They birthed you, and they know they've done a good job of laying on the obligation and guilt. So they just need access to you to really resurrect all of those feelings so that you will break no contact and they can continue to abuse you. So they can't get hold of you. So who do they send out? The parent that you were able to talk to about your feelings. Maybe you could never understand why they didn't really stand up for you, or they didn't just leave that horrible toxic parent. But regardless, it's one parent that you feel loves you and that you can talk to and you feel reasonably safe with. So what does the toxic narcissistic parent do to get hold of you, to regain control? They must do something pretty big. They must ramp up that abuse or the manipulation, and they get that enabling parent to turn on you too. Now, turning on you can be ringing you and abusing you like they never have before, something you just can't understand because you only have one parent, and why aren't you talking to your mother or your father? And it's really putting a wedge in the family. They start blaming you, and here you feel like you've lost the one parent who was there for you. The narcissistic parent, although you might know exactly what they've done, they have engaged in the escalation of the abuse, the manipulation, the control of that enabling parent, so much so that they have turned on you. Now, however that pans out down the track, when that happens, you feel so alone. Your narcissistic parent has taken everything away from you, and here they are obviously giving your other parent an ultimatum of sorts, where that parent then calls you and appears to turn on you as well. It is soul destroying, and you feel like you have no one. The narcissistic parent doesn't bat an eyelid. And to be honest, they were probably looking for a way to turn that parent against you. And it was only when you went no contact, they in inverted commas, pulled out the big guns and alienated you from their parent with whatever words or behavior they engaged in. So cruel. Number 4, cruel narcissistic behavior happens in the workplace. Now, that colleague that you just cannot please, they always seem to be competitive with you when there seems to be absolutely no reason for it. You could be working together as a team. They always seem to be trying to outshine you or to downplay your work. That colleague sets you up at work through a smear campaign, a very, very covert smear campaign. The cruel behavior comes when the colleague approaches your boss, but not only takes credit for your good work and makes it their own, but tells the boss who they've been forging strong bonds with, very covertly, they tell the boss that you have been failing in your duty at work and or have been smearing them. Now, this happens all the time at work. This covert form of bullying is just so incredibly cruel because it's done over a period of time and the victim is not looking out for this. It's not something that you just think is going to happen to you, where your good work, you're putting in all these hours, you're doing such a good job, and somehow that manipulative colleague, the narcissistic person at work who's envious of your work, is covertly taking credit for your work and or downplaying and minimizing what you're doing. It's twofold. And all of this done when they're forging friendships that probably go outside of the workplace with the boss and other people at work. So you wonder why people are not taking you seriously, perhaps at work, or they're not seeking your advice at work where once they did. Or maybe your role at work has changed in that the boss is, I don't know, giving you the menial jobs, the equivalent of being a hairdresser who's come out of their 4-year apprenticeship and they're fully qualified, doing all the amazing stuff that hairdressers do in the top salons, and then being asked to make coffee. Your job description has changed and you can't say anything. Well, you can, but the boss has had your reputation smeared to them. They've been very covertly, had their mindset changed, where now they are looking for mistakes in your work. This is a setup that happens in the workplace all the time, where the victim ends up getting pushed out because the atmosphere at work is so incredibly hostile, and they don't seem to have anyone who respects them anymore, or anyone who's willing to stand up to the boss. And so much of the time, the victim ends up quitting, and it's a covert setup, but it's so insidious and hard to prove, and it is incredibly cruel. Victims end up taking lengthy times off work, not getting a reference for the next job, and not having confidence in themselves to take on another job. Incredibly cruel, sadistic, and insidious abuse by the narcissist. Number 5, cruel, weird, narcissistic behavior is one, again, I hear regularly, and that's when the narcissist takes you away on holidays. Now, this could be a parent or a friend, but I hear this a lot in intimate narcissistic abuse relationships, where the narcissist abandons you. Now, it is so incredibly important, guys, to remember, now that you've had your light bulb moment, never go to counseling with a narcissist, but you also never go away on a supposed vacation holiday with the narcissist, because this is what they do. They've got you isolated. They've got you in a place where you probably haven't got your bearings. Maybe you're overseas. They love to do it when you're overseas, and maybe they've got your passport. They've got complete control of you. You don't understand the language. You haven't got access to money like you would in your home country, and they start a fight, and maybe you don't even know where you're staying or exactly how to get back there, and they abandon you. You don't know where to go. You can't talk to anyone. This is textbook, and it is so frightening. It happens when you're not overseas as well. They love to dump you somewhere. Get out of the car. I'm not taking you any further because you're not agreeing with them about something, and they kick you out. Maybe you haven't even got a phone, and they leave you in that dangerous position. This is what narcissists do, and it is incredibly cruel, but it is so scary and frightening that when they come back to get you, you experience such incredible relief that you don't want to bring up what started the argument, in inverted commas, to begin with. So basically, your relief outweighs any need for accountability. And the narcissist expects that you should be grateful because they came back and rescued you from the dangerous and frightening scenario. They were the ones that they were responsible for you being in that position in the first place. The narcissist kicks you off the cliff, runs down to the bottom of the cliff, and then says, "Aren't you grateful I rescued you?" Crazy, but so common and so incredibly cruel. Number 6, abusive and cruel narcissistic behavior comes from the narcissistic daughter or son-in-law. Gosh, how often have I heard this in the last few weeks? The toxic in-law, the daughter-in-law or the son-in-law, is envious of the loving relationship their partner has with their parents. And you, as the new mother-in-law, father-in-law, you want to try and create a loving relationship with the person that your child has chosen, and you go out of your way to welcome them into your family. It seems all rosy to begin with, but once that relationship is cemented, that's when you start to notice that your toxic daughter or son-in-law is, number one, isolating your child from you, turning your child against you, and you're not seeing them as often. Maybe you would spend every Christmas together, every birthday, every Easter, you'd go away on holidays, and all of a sudden, your child, not them, your child is starting to say no to invitations, and you wonder what you've done. And sooner or later, they start to spill the beans. You've done something to offend their husband or wife, and they need you to fix it. Well, number one, you don't know what you've done. You've only been loving to this person. And number two, why is your child that you know knows who you are? You know they love you and you love them. Why are they accusing you of doing this? It starts off small for you parents out there who are losing an adult child to a narcissist. It starts off small, and it very insidiously gets bigger and bigger. And the same with siblings. If you've got a sibling who's married a narcissist, they will be slowly isolated from you. And it's about envy, wanting to isolate their victim who they now have control of. They have a lot more control than you do now because they have 24 hours a day access to their victim to manipulate, brainwash, and gaslight them. And they want to be in control. So they will convince their partner that you weren't nice to them, and they will manufacture scenarios. So your child approaches you thinking that they're going to be the go-between, sort all this nonsense out, and you say, as the parent, exactly what they were told you would say by their narcissistic partner, which proves what they said to be correct. They've set you up with a smear campaign. And this just goes on and on until that narcissistic daughter or son-in-law is able to get you as the parents who've done nothing wrong, crawling to them, making peace when you had nothing to make peace for, and they get to watch you squirm because they know they've got to do this when you've got nothing to apologize for whatsoever. They watch you do this because they know how much you want to see your child, and they know the narcissist has control of them. Cruel behavior number 6 is when the toxic daughter and son-in-law isolates your child from you and makes you lower every boundary you have just to have a relationship with your own child. Number 7, abusive, narcissistic, cruel behavior. One, again, we don't read too much about, but is really common, is when the narcissist who has listened to you pour your heart out in the love bombing stage about your abusive, toxic ex before them. And they appeared to be so empathetic, hanging off your every word. And of course, we now know that the narcissist is indeed listening to every word you say so that they can use your words as a weapon against you later on. So here the narcissist has listened to you pour your heart out about your abusive ex, and they then go on not just to repeat the behavior of your abusive ex, because they can't be outdone or outshone in the abuse strategies, because this person must have been pretty powerful to make you so distressed. They can't be outdone in those areas. So they have to do the abuse or make the abuse twice as horrific and painful for you. But they go a step further, many of the abusers. When it comes time for them to discard you, or maybe you've managed to escape, the narcissist loves nothing better than to team up with your past abusive ex. Now, during the relationship, they are normally saying, oh, if I get hold of that person, I'm going to give them what for, and I'm going to read them their horoscope, and how dare they treat the person I love like that. They normally profess to hate with a passion your ex. But as soon as you look like you're healing and moving on with your life, or maybe you're trying to get justice, they will team up with your ex and form an alliance against you. Now, you've already been told that you were the problem, you're the common denominator, and here you are with your two abusers teaming up to reinforce that in you. This is even more damaging when they join forces and you're going to court. You've got two people sitting in the back row with their videos they've manufactured against you, and they're saying the same thing. It's all you. You're the problem. This is cold, calculated, and cruel behavior. And it also serves to deplete your support system, because people see that, wow, it's not just this partner, this ex-partner that thinks you're crazy. The one before them thinks the same thing. Now, of course, we know that domestic violence victims find one after the other. They find themselves in these relationships, and that's for another episode. But if you haven't found the support to find this connection, it is so normal to find one after the other. So this is what's happening for you as the victim, but that's not what other people are seeing, and that's not what they're being told by your abusers. They're saying that you are the common denominator, and your two abusers sitting together, saying the same lies, reinforces that you're the problem to everyone else. Number 8, cruel, sadistic, narcissistic abuse behavior is when, and again, this can be any sort of relationship, but the narcissist knows that you're struggling with, let's just say, addiction issues. Maybe it's alcohol or some other type of drug. They know that this is a thing for you, you don't like it, and you would love nothing better than to give up. But firstly, they make your life so stressful intentionally. They have you walking on eggshells at all times, so that it's impossible nearly to get to a place where you're not falling back on your crutch, which is, the source of your addiction. But they will give you the source of your addiction, not because it hurts them to see you in pain when you're in withdrawal, but so that you will continue to struggle, and then they can use it against you. So let's just say it's alcohol. They tell you you're pathetic. Oh my goodness, look at you. You're a drunk. Most of the time you're not. You're maybe enjoying a few glasses of wine on the weekend. Who knows? But they will call you that regardless of whether you have a major problem or not. They'll find something to attack you with. They've called you all sorts of names around this addiction. And then when it suits them, you're going to a party or it's Christmas or something. They'll not just get you one bottle of it. They'll get you a case full. And then when you think, oh, well, they're okay with it, and you think you can enjoy yourself with them, they'll sabotage you. Of course, they'll make sure that whatever it is that you're imbibing, that you've had something to lower your inhibitions a little, and that's when they'll put the bait out, something ridiculous. They'll gaslight you, knowing that you will defend yourself. So there's a number of strings to this bow, but it's about making sure that you don't ever feel good about yourself by getting rid of this addiction in your life, which is what you really want. It's about calling you pathetic and worthless because you can't do anything, you can't give up anything, you just lie about it. And it's also about sabotaging you by topping you up with these things and confusing you by saying 1 minute that they think you're pathetic because you are indulging, and the next thing they're loading you up with and saying, hey, let's have a good time. Oh, it's all right today. This is so confusing, and it's cruel, and it's all about them and making sure that you never feel good about yourself. Number 9, abusive, toxic, cruel behavior is when the narcissist treats you with absolute disdain and contempt when you're sick. How absolutely traumatizing is it? You've just had a baby, or maybe you've had a major operation in hospital and you come home, you can barely move, and the narcissist has told the hospital, yes, I will look after them, when you could have had maybe your family there, or a nurse visiting every day. Oh no, I'll look after you. And then they make you feel guilty because you are in need and you are expecting support. You're expecting them to look after you. Even if you're not incapacitated, if you're sick, which is a time that you would think that your partner or your loved one, maybe it's a parent who professes to love you, they would be there for you. But this is the time they'll make you feel needy. They'll make you feel like you're worthless, that you're expecting something from them that you would never do, and that you're over sensitive, and that you're not really sick at all. They'll make out like you're manipulating them. Whatever they can do to make you feel guilty for being sick, it's incredibly cruel when you can't even rely on them for nurturing in your time of need, when you have given to them, when they have needed you. You've always been there, and it's never reciprocated. Number 10, cruel behavior from the narcissist. Another common one is when they have you in such a state. Now, this can be the result of the abuse of a parent, a friend, a colleague, or an intimate partner, any narcissist that you have in your life, but they have you at the time in such a state that you feel you are so mentally incapacitated that you either admit yourself to hospital or you're admitted involuntarily. Now, you think about it. This just epitomizes the movie Gaslighting. That's where the term is coined from. Go back and watch it if you haven't watched it, guys. Gaslighting, make sure you watch the Ingrid Bergman version. It's old. I've got to warn you, it's like 1940s, but it is so good. Now, the husband gaslighted here, and you'll see why it's called Gaslighted when you watch the movie, but he convinced her that she was so sick that she was hospitalized. Now, I'm not ruining the end of the movie there. I'm just giving a little snippet. But he destroys her ability to trust her instincts, and it goes that far. Now, you think about it. How cruel does a person have to be to subject someone else to their torturous manipulation to such an extent that they feel they are so mentally unwell, and it's their fault, that they've got something wrong with them, that they have to take time away from their families, time out from their job to get better in long stays at hospital, and or their abuser sets them up to be involuntarily admitted. You think about the cruelty involved in doing something like that. But how often do I hear from my beautiful clients that this happened, and because of the erosion away of their boundaries, their confidence, their ability to trust themselves, and of course the incredibly strong and powerful trauma bond, even after that they went back. They went back to their abuser after that cruel behavior. And that just evidences how incredibly powerful that trauma bond is, and how defenseless and vulnerable the victim is. So there are 10 very cruel behaviors from the narcissist. Now, some of them are ones that you don't hear all the time, but they're actually very, very common, and others you will hear regularly of. And there are so many more, and I'll probably do another video with another 10 strategies, just so you always remember that you're not on your own. These behaviors are textbook, and that the narcissist just goes from one victim to the next with the same basic strategies to use and abuse you. The abuse was never your fault. But as I always say, the healing is going to be on you. And that brings us to the end of another Fake Love and Flying Monkeys episode. I hope you found that episode insightful, guys, and you got some validation from it. The narcissist is incredibly cruel, and yes, everything they do is intentional. It's amazing what they can do, what anyone can do when they're devoid of empathy, as the narcissist is. So before you hear from me at the next episode, if you would like to have a one-on-one counseling session with me online, please just see my website link below. And don't forget to get your copy of my best-selling book, Fake Love, Understanding and Healing from Narcissistic Abuse, available worldwide. And it's also available in Audible and Kindle. And of course, don't forget to follow me on my other social media platforms. And if you would like to support this channel, the best thing you can do, guys, is to share. We're trying to give it some legs. It's only new. Share it, tag someone you think might benefit from it. And if you're looking for something else, you can buy me a cup of coffee. I love coffee, and there's a link in the description as well. On that note, it's bye from me for now. Until the next episode, remember, you are worthy of love, and you are worthy of so much more than a lifetime of fake love and flying monkeys.